And now to Apple's other challenge. Some of the biggest global funds have been selling their shares. New data from research firm eVestment shows that institutional investors sold the stock in the second quarter. The drop in Apple's ownership was bigger than any other major stock. The research firm tells CNBC that some investors and asset managers may be starting to believe that Apple's big growth days are behind it.
Apple is also watching closely what is happening over in Ireland 1 week after the European Union ruled that Ireland had granted Apple undue tax benefits. Ireland's parliament now appealing the decision. The outcome of the appeal is expected sometime tonight. Julia Chatterley reports from Dublin.
An important vote, but also just a symbolic one from the Irish Parliament tonight, voting on whether or not to back the government in their decision to appeal the European Commission's decision to hit Apple with that $14.5 billion tax bill. What the government have been saying all along is this appeal will succeed. Why? Because we never gave Apple any kind of sweetheart deal or preferential treatment, which is fine. But there's a bigger question here. What does this mean for other big tech companies here in Ireland, the likes of Microsoft, of Facebook? Did they therefore get the same deal as Apple? And is there a huge risk now that these companies get hit with a similar kind of tax bill as Apple at some point in the future? That's the question I put to the Irish Prime Minister. Listen to what he had to say.
There are 3 other cases on appeal to the European Court, to which Ireland is a party, but the amount mentioned here is a staggering amount in comparison to the other countries. So from that perspective, this may take a number of years to actually conclude. But it sends out the wrong signal from the Commission, particularly when Ireland has been one of the foremost players on the OECD programme to deal with this problem of a broken corporate tax system internationally by having an international response. We've changed our legislation here. We've gotten rid of the stateless concept. We've gotten rid of the so-called double Irish concept.
So what he was effectively saying there, I think, is that this is a legacy issue, that these tax loopholes have now been closed. But he didn't really answer the question about whether or not the likes of Microsoft and Facebook are still at risk from a similar issue. Now, I did ask him another question, very potent in light of today's events, whether or not he'll show solidarity with Apple and buy the iPhone 7. He got very excited and said he owns the iPhone 6, but that he's having a few issues understanding its tips and tricks. He said he asked Tim Cook last week if he could help him. He said he would, but from my sense, that help could take a while to understand. I think he better stick with the iPhone 6 here and delay on the old upgrade. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Julia Chatterley in Dublin.